Well, hi friends, I'm Brian Cosby. This is Pride and Protect, and today we are looking at how to raise boys to be men. And in our culture today, there seems just to be a lot of confusion over gender roles and what it means to be a boy or a man in our society. And so what I want to do is just share 150 skills every boy should learn. And today, just part one, so the first 50 of these skills, because we want our boys to grow up to be those providers and protectors, not only for themselves, but for their families and homes, their communities, and even for society as a whole. So let's get into it. Now, I fully understand that you may not know how to do all these skills, and I'm certainly learning myself, and that's okay, because you can learn these together with your son, your sons, or if you're a grandfather, your grandsons. These are all things that you can learn together. So first, building a fire, just a basic thing to know, skill to know, and so certainly a fun thing for boys to do. Putting out a fire properly, making sure it's all the way out, so it doesn't spread beyond the borders of your fire pit or fire ring. Knowing firewood, so the types of wood to burn, making sure wood is seasoned, chopping firewood safely, carefully, stacking firewood properly. I've got a video on all of that, which I will drop below. Safely using a wood stove or fireplace, understanding the damper and the flue, and so you don't have smoke pouring out into your living room or something like that. And then knowing types of rope, whether it's dynamic or static ropes or paracord, tying knots. Again, I've got videos on that as well. Knowing and using and safely handling a knife is just a basic thing and skill to have for any boy or man. But certainly this is a big area, and there's all kinds of knives out there. Knowing how to properly use them, take care of them, maintain them, sharpen them. I'll drop a video on that as well down below. But the importance of EDC, your everyday carry, being prepared for various things that happen, just whether it's a knife or flashlight or even a weapon. Obviously, you don't want to do that with the children, with a son. But the importance of understanding EDC, like my boys, they'll carry a multi-tool, for example, with them, and maybe a handkerchief or other kinds of things they typically have on them, some paracord. But just the importance of EDC. Making leather or Kydex sheaths, we've done that. So with my boys, it's been a lot of fun to do that, knowing how having tools to be able to shape and cut those types of materials. Making a spear. This is just the adventure in any boy. It's just wanting to make a spear and throw it, obviously carefully in all of these areas. But making a spear, using and maintaining an axe, having a proper understanding and purpose of the types of axes that are out there. And again, for all these things, for a lot of these things, I'll have videos on. I'll drop them down below. But maintaining an axe and sharpening an axe, just a very useful skill to have. Knowing vehicle engine parts and what they do. Do they understand an alternator? And what about the timing belt? Various things within the engine itself. Checking the oil, changing the oil. Very few, it seems like, men and boys know how to do this today, and getting an oil filter and just making sure that that's not just for vehicles, but just for other equipment as well. How to change a tire. It's just a basic thing I think every boy and man should know how to do. Charging a vehicle battery. If your battery goes dead in the wintertime, how to charge it properly, and knowing the terminals of the battery. And then washing a vehicle properly. I know a lot of groups, maybe church groups and youth groups and other kinds of things in raising money, they have these car washes out by the road, and they'll get these rags that just have grit and dirt in them, and they're really rubbing into the paint and the vehicle, the sides of the vehicle, little tiny micro scrapes, and so knowing how to properly even just wash a vehicle is an important thing to know. How to use, maintain, and safely operate a chainsaw. Obviously, this may be for older boys. Just use discernment with all this, of course. But this is an important thing to know, especially if you get snowed in, or your driveway or your road is blocked and you need someone to go take care of the situation. and you have a chainsaw and you can do it, this is a good thing for a boy to know. Like I said, an older boy probably on that. It is pretty dangerous, and obviously you want to have the right equipment, safety equipment with all of this. Using basic tools, so basic here, hammers and power tools and tape measures, sockets, wrenches, all kinds of things, how to properly use those tools. Again, if you don't know how to use some of these things, that's okay. You can learn. You can watch YouTube videos like this, or other channels, or read good books, or have someone teach you. But maybe do that together is a good thing. Maintaining your tools and equipment. One of the worst things I just hate is when I go to pick up a tool and it's rusty, or it's just not put back in the place where it should be, the right place. And so just maintaining your tools and equipment, making sure things are oiled and ready to go, so that when you go reach for a certain tool, you're not having to go and do maintenance at that point. It's ready to go when you need it. Obviously, using safety equipment, your eyes and ears, having gloves, returning equipment in better shape. What a great principle that is. You know, if you borrow a piece of equipment, a trailer, you borrow some tool from somebody, that when you give it back, it is cleaned in even a better shape than when you got it. Number 21 is just drainage and water flow. Understanding if you are having to do work or maintenance on a driveway or something like that, that you understand the drainage of water and the erosion that water is very powerful. It can erode things very fast. So understanding that water flow around your home, so to protect your home from damage from water, if it's on a hill or something like that. Knowing basic masonry, basic carpentry, knowing how to frame a wall and what 16 inches on center means, things like that. Basic plumbing, basic electrical. Again, you know, you're not going to be a professional unless you really are in these areas, but it is good to know some basics about all of these. Number 26 is raising and caring for animals. This is a big one, especially if you want them to have any kind of homestead, maybe a little hobby farm or big farm or something. Knowing how to raise and care for animals, whether it's chickens or goats or rabbits or dogs or cats or other kinds of things. I put in here animal husbandry. That's the old idea of that animal management, and seeing your animals in the bigger picture of how there can be mutual benefit to the animals and to you by having them. Breeding animals for your home or for profit. We've done that with goats before. Treating animal wounds. So basics of just treating animal wounds, the importance of things like diatomaceous earth, and how to rehab a wounded or hurt animal. Land management for animals, so rotation, and obviously Joel Salatin and others are very popular for doing this, and having chickens follow larger animals to spread out the manure. And so just land management and rotating chickens around, for example. And then speaking of land, lawn care. So having your boys know how to mow the yard. So I have my boys do this now, using a weed eater, a weed trimmer, doing basic landscaping. These are all just very important skills to know. So maybe a movement a little bit away from the land and animals and fires to here 31, basic finance and budgeting. To know how to handle money well, to budget. We use an EveryDollar app in our home for budgeting. But if they have some money that they get for Christmas, or maybe they've earned some money somehow, maybe selling eggs. Our kids have sold eggs, extra eggs from our chickens, and made some money. And basically setting aside that money, having a portion that they tithe, maybe a portion that they use for various things. It's just the budgeting principles. So basic finance and budgeting, business principles and management. So how to maybe operate or run a company or a business. And again, if you don't know some of these things, learn them together. And this is a fun thing to do with them. Knowing real estate. I've got a real estate investment company, and the importance of real estate in not only in history, but now, and trends and markets, and the importance of owning or even investing in real estate. And that leads to number 34, the principles of investing. So if you're just living paycheck to paycheck, this is tough to set aside extra money to invest. But that's a great goal to get to, and to teach your boys in how to invest carefully, wisely, safely, but in a way that they could see in many years from now the long-term benefits. So not just a flash in the pan short-term idea, but the long-term benefits of investing for future of their children and maybe even their children's children. And then speaking of money, just tipping well. When you are out at a restaurant, when you need to get a cab or something like that, just the importance of just tipping well and being that kind of man that seeks to be generous in his life. Number 36, gardening. Knowing how to plant a garden and raising your own food. Just what a wonderful skill and thing to know. And speaking of raising your own food and growing your own food, I should say, eating healthy food, knowing what kinds of food are healthy to your body, being engaged in physical fitness, working out, having a routine of running or lifting weights, or if you are on a farm or homestead, maybe it's just lifting feed and hay and other things like that, but staying active so you're not just sedentary, you're not just sitting in home playing video games, you're out and about, you're active with your lifestyle. Keeping up with your personal hygiene, brushing your hair, brushing your teeth, or combing your hair, brushing your teeth, and things like that. Just these are basic things that are good to know for any boy, especially number 40 right there, first aid. Oh, this is important to understand. If there's an issue where they get a cut or just a scrape, or they get poison ivy, maybe it's a broken arm or broken finger. Some basic things to know about first aid is so important and a great skill for any boy and man to have. So some miscellaneous items here. Number 41, the role of wearing a hat or a cap, of having a handkerchief on you. And sometimes if I'm grilling and there's a wasp or something that comes up, having a hat's pretty handy in that regard, and protecting your face from the sun, all kinds of things like that. And of course, having a handkerchief, whether it's in the wintertime, you need to blow your nose, or the summer, you need to wipe the sweat from your brow, just having these things on you. Number 42, basics of grilling and cooking. It's always a fun thing to do for guys to grill together, cook some meat together. And I think it's a fun thing for boys to learn. There's an experience, not just in eating, of course, but the experience of being with friends and family when you're doing it. 43, home maintenance. This is a big one. A lot of skills here, just changing light bulbs, knowing the kinds of light bulbs, air filters, trash, taking out the trash, having that responsibility to take out the trash, cleaning out gutters or unclogging a sink, so you don't always have to just hire a plumber to come do that. You can do it yourself. You can teach your boys how to do all of these things. Situational awareness. So if you're in a mall, if you are at Walmart, if you are going across a parking lot, maybe they're taking a walk in the woods, just being aware of those levels of awareness, yellow, sometimes they talk about it in terms of yellow, orange, or red, and you're just aware of your surroundings and teaching them that, so that when they are in these various environments and contexts, they will be more aware of those potential dangers around them. And that leads to number 45, self-defense and martial arts, that they could learn something of self-defense. My boys went through a class recently in jiu-jitsu, and it's really fun for them. Just some basics of how to handle yourself well, so that you can defend yourself or defend others. So last 5 of our list today is number 46, prepping. So the overarching idea of being prepared as a home, as a family. This is something you can teach your boys, that if there is a snowstorm like we had this past week and we could not get out, do you have enough supplies at your home as far as food and water and things like first aid? Some things we've mentioned in this video already. But do you have the supplies? Do you have things like toilet paper and paper towels and rope and other kinds of things you can start a fire with? So gathering your supplies, understanding what those potential threats could be on a national level, maybe a regional area, maybe a global kind of context or situation, and what you can do about it, getting with others in a community. So that's number 46. 47, understanding just what's going on in the world and locally. I think a lot of people just follow global or national news, but they miss out on actually the local news and what's happening in their immediate surroundings. So local and world news, understanding bias with news as well, but just staying informed. 48, communication, knowing how to use radios and frequencies. My boys love using radios, and whether it's ham radio, my oldest boy is doing his ham radio license stuff right now as training. But knowing how to do radios and understanding frequencies, signaling, Morse code 49, and then finally geography, knowing your states, knowing your capitals, knowing your countries, so that if we're on a trip or something, they know, hey, we're heading north, and what is north? What are the states that are north? Understanding your surroundings just as far as geography goes. Well, that's going to do it, folks. Thanks so much for joining me today. Again, this is part 1, so we'll have 2 more parts in this series on 150 skills every boy should learn so that we can raise those sons, those boys, to be men. If you've not already done so, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate you and your support, and we'll see you on the next video.